And we're live. Hello, everybody out there in social media land, video recording and streaming. We are live on Rumble and we are live on YouTube. And I'm not in my usual place where I record this stuff, but right now, today, I have a special guest, shall we say. I'm not ashamed to admit she is currently running my oldest internet friend. This is V, or Vicki Vale, as I've come to know her. You could say hi, Vicki, if you want. V. If you're trying to talk, I don't think we can hear you. You might have to unmute. Or if your phone has gone to sleep, you might have to wake your phone up.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right. It turns out I cannot use Google Maps while driving and streaming. I'm not doing both. I would not recommend that.
Yeah, that's pretty gay.
I assume you were reading a comment. What does that comment say?
I wasn't reading a comment. I was saying, hey, you can feel free to introduce yourself if you like. I'm sure you heard my brief introduction of you.
Yeah, thanks for that. I guess I am one of your oldest, well, not oldest as an age, but, longest time relationship having internet friends. It's nice to...
Niraj, my friend Niraj, he and I are he's technically my oldest known friend from the internet, but he and I lost touch for damn near 10 years, longer than 10 years, more like almost 18 years. So I wouldn't count him as like my oldest long-standing running friend because, he and I were friends in like 2003, 2004. And then we didn't talk until like 2018 or 2019 when we reconnected.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I have been together for almost 10 years now. Almost, like 2014.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes. That's the oldest long-standing online friend. And it was Diana. Her and I went back to like 2006. So at 2016, that was our like 10 years together. And hilariously enough, some background on V and I, we're role players together. And 2016 is when we had a big falling out, and my friend Diana, who I'm talking about, she and I parted in 2016 because of all kinds of ideological differences. So,
disclaimer: Diana was not my friend.
Yeah, you and Diana didn't get along. Not because of you, not because of you. It was because of her. She has this like alpha woman mentality, which might play into the topic today, which is absolute power. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you being able to, say anything you wanted to about yourself, if you wanted to share anything with the internets about yourself.
This is dangerous, giving a girl a floor.
Okay. You're not the first.
So I'm currently driving. Super interesting, right? So I have a lot of, but the common ones that I have done with Bruce, as I know him, are Booker from The Outsiders, Vicki Vale, Batman, and Wonder Girl from Teen Titans. And we're talking Donna Troy because I am not a Cassie fan. Not me. Other than that, I don't know. Is there anything else to? I'm sure there's other things to me that are
Yeah,
really
I
fun.
think I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I told the story on stream. I might have said it last week with graphics. Um, I was explaining the one story of you with the baby in the bank vault, and yeah, I was explaining that story to, I think, graphics. If it wasn't to him on stream, it was off stream. But I unironically love that because it's, and you already know my issues with it, but as I love citing that as an example to people who make bad writing decisions, I cite it to them all the time, you know, and just as an illustration, it's like it's okay to make mistakes. It's fine, right? But until you make those mistakes, you don't know, you know. Like to you, it's like, oh yeah, this perfectly makes sense. It's very comic booky. It's fun. It's fine, right? But it's like with some experience, you're like, oh my god, that's so stupid, you know. And with experience, you can then begin to analyze and reflect on your past decisions and things you've made, where you're like, okay, that was really dumb. And I'm surprised at the time, neither of us thought it. You know, neither of us thought, you know, you and your partner, you didn't think that it was dumb. But what was I going to? Let me go to my agenda here, because I have. So, well, I'm gonna save the baby in the bank vault story for later, because like I said, I don't remember if I said that on the last stream. So I'll hold off on that. Because that's a fun story. I genuinely enjoy telling that story. So today's topic is absolute power or power, and that's because I kept coming up with different topics and different ideas as to dynamics of what's going on within a game. And I wanted to make this topic, and perhaps I'll dig a little bit deeper into it when I have a few more dungeon masters on stream. But I wanted to focus in on the topic that made me focus in on power was the topic of bad dungeon masters. Okay, and V, you probably have some experience with a level of dungeon masters, and some dungeon master experience yourself, as you've run some role play groups. You've done some text-based RP role play groups before. I'm not gonna out any of those of what you do, because you know that's not. I don't know what you want to share with the public, you know. But you know, you've done DC, you've done Marvel, and you've run group role plays, and you've seen how it's like herding cats. You know, it's like, hey, everyone, here's where the story is going. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go fly off into space and hang out on a space station. And you're like, okay, but that doesn't really go with the story, but I guess.
Oh, things we could tell you. I mean, I'll probably out myself at some point, but I really don't care. I can trace anything back to me. That sounded ominous. um, let's see. Aside from Marvel and DC, I've done a couple of just like rooms that are goth or dark themed. I've done some vampire rooms, and then just like a Gotham room in general, which Bruce doesn't approve of, but that is one of my things. I
What don't
did
I approve of?
the Gotham room, most likely. You probably don't like that one.
Yeah. Is it based on the Gotham TV show? Yeah, no. Nope.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
No.
And it's a bunch of OC stuff, which original character for those of you who don't know.
Well, see, that's fine. That part's fine.
But it's like OCs you would not approve of.
Oh, my character Jack Wayne wouldn't fit in there. You wouldn't like Jack Wayne. He's the son of the or he's the he's the grandson of the Joker and Batman.
I mean,
He wouldn't fit in there.
he would fit in there. The problem is a lot of the people who play in that room aren't your style. And by that I mean they're focused on the ships and they just really let anyone in. So I've seen a couple of like Avatar people from the new Avatar movie that came out, and I'm just like, what the hell?
All right, then.
And this thing,
They're not very judgmental. In other words, they're just like, what? Like, come on in. It's fine. You Five Nights at Freddy's. That's fine. Yeah, I could see how that could work.
There's a lot of polyamory going on, a lot of like gay ships, which I don't mind. But it does.
That. I don't mind that either. But it's to me, it's like with stuff like that, it's like, okay, where
do you draw the line?
Where does that take over the character?
Yeah, like, that too. It becomes the writer instead of the character. It's not canon. First.
Yeah, and that's also where I look at it. It's like that's the problem I see with mainstream writing, and I see with mainstream movies and television, is it's like that becomes the character, and you lose sight of who the person actually is. And I point to perhaps a great example of this, or a good of it done right is what I'm going to actually say. This is how it's done right. And you and I we watched the Flash show, we watched Arrow, and Curtis, Mr. Terrific. Okay, I don't recall him being gay in the comics, but I'm not a big Mr. Terrific guy. Like I know enough about him, but I don't know a lot about him. But in the show, he was gay. But it wasn't like there were a few like character building episodes, which fine. I expect 1 or 2 character building episodes for each character. So he had like his episodes where it involved his boyfriends or his relationships and his duality, trying to juggle a relationship and being a vigilante. To me, done well, done right. Okay, like this is the typical common problems I would expect of any superhero. And we had gotten plenty of seasons of that in Arrow, where Thea had that problem, Roy had that problem, Oliver had that problem, Dinah had that problem. So like that's par for the course. Where it's done terribly is pick a Marvel movie. Like just throw a dart at the board and be like, this is done terribly because the character's just flamboyantly, hey, I'm gay. And that's my character. I'm just gay. And it's like, okay. Like, all right. You literally have no arc. You're just a flat character. Got it.
Honestly, the biggest flop for me was Hulk and Black Widow. That was sad. Like, just put 2 people in a room that don't belong and need a little more story and see what you get out of it. And the result is awful, terrible things.
So you're not a big Hulk Black Widow fan?
No, not in the least. Like, if you're going to ship Natasha Romanoff, I would go with Clint Barton, like, make that a Rocky story. If you're going to ship Hulk, I would definitely go with, like, one of the Valkyries from Asgard, maybe. That would be a little more believable than Natasha. And
you cut out. Who would you ship Black Widow with?
Clint.
Oh, okay. Hawkeye. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically looking at it like, all right, so, well, yeah, see, my problem with when I look at like Hawkeye is like he's the guy that recruited her, right? So it's like it crosses that professional boundary that they have.
But that's what makes it great.
Yeah, but it makes you like question, like, all right, was he really? Did he see her talent, or was he just sexually attracted to her?
I mean, it could have been after the fact too. I don't know. I mean,
Sure,
I
like,
also,
it's like, all right, we disconnected for 2 years. She had to do training and undercover missions and blah blah blah. And now, after 2 years, this is the first time I've seen her, and you know what? I just feel an attraction for her. And she's like, you know what? After 2 years, I feel an attraction for him. But I
yeah,
was going to say, on the other side of that with Hulk, Valkyrie is an interesting choice for him because it's like they're both, super strong people, but he's definitely a scientist and a brainiac, where Valkyrie, as I understand it, is kind of just
magic based.
well, okay. I'll concede your knowledge on her more than I, but I was gonna say, like, I would say she's basically just a meathead, like hammer,
Oh, like
Ash.
I gotcha. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, both of those characters could have ended up single, and I would have been happy.
Well, I'm saying like Valkyrie,
Oh,
is she like a meathead, like just run in and
she
smash stuff, or is she intellectual? Like, what's
she's definitely a meathead. She's like Thor, basically, but
yeah, so
oh,
like you put her with someone like Hulk and they complement each other because Hulk is smart. Despite the fact he's guided by rage and emotion, he's still intellectually he's smart. And then you take
right,
someone like Valkyrie, who she's not exactly the smartest box of chocolates, but she's powerful and she can she can bounce off of someone like Hulk, who can give her wisdom and insight. If he says, "Hey, stop smashing the skin, target the glowing crystals," and she'll say, "Oh, okay," and then she lightning bolts them and blows the thing up, right?
right.
Like there's some synergy there, and that's the key thing that we're talking about with this, is having that synergy and what have you. But what I bringing us back to the topic was your experience with leading a group of people.
Oh,
So
it is like hurting.
What's your experience DMing? Being the main story writer.
You know, I'd say it's a lot easier with one person than like 10. But it is possible. You just have to create like a good connection with the circle that you want to build. Um, like um, I've been playing Ava Ayala, White Tiger, um, and I started this story where I also play Ladybug from Miraculous Ladybug and La Dama from Blue Beetle. Yeah, I play a lot of people that Bruce doesn't know about. um, so the story with Ava is that Jaime.
You cut out.
Nephew. So,
You cut out. You said the story with Ava.
oh, okay, the story with Ava. Um, she's investigating a Chinese museum in New York that had a stolen artifact, and they caught the person on camera, and it turned out to be Ladybug. Well, why is Ladybug stealing stuff? And then it turns out Nadama wants whatever Ladybug stole. So this also incorporates other people's characters. I have someone playing Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. I also have someone playing Larry Kroc, Sportsmaster. There's also someone's playing as Scarab from Blue Beetle as well. And then there's also Courtney, oh God, I can't remember, Stargirl. Stargirl is there. I'm sorry, this is a lot of people.
Yeah, you were saying like 10 people.
Yeah, basically. So the Jaime Reyes that I play with, we have really good shipping, I guess, going on. And so
With
I can
chemistry.
depend on him. Yeah. Yeah, most of our characters are shipped together, so we're pretty good about allowing plot to form because we don't like shipping without any plot, and it gets boring if you don't do that. So with Ava, she just brought on Blue Beetle as a teammate, and Jaime wanted to be a teammate because Deathstroke is on there, and he's a um, former Teen Titan. So he's trying to figure out why Deathstroke is working for Shield. Um, so yeah, it's like a lot of people, a lot of things going on. When I'm planning this, it's through Discord. So if I drop a hint, people ask me about it on Discord to see what toes they can step on, so they're not like spoiling the plot or there's still some mystery to it. So I'll usually lead people in the direction of, oh, I said this because this is what's going on. And then they'll say, okay, how do you want me to react? But I don't like control their post. I don't tell them what to post. I just give them ideas about what they can do with their post. And they either take some of it to heart or all of it to heart, and they give me something good. And so far, it's been working. I I think this group that I'm currently in is probably one of the better groups that's worked out for me. I used to have another room that I modded for, was like a comic battle world room, and I hated the name. But the people who own that room liked to do a dice system because they felt like some characters were overpowered, which I get. I do not like the dice system. I think it's good for developing post. I think it's shit for determining how battle outcomes come around. Because sometimes you can just get creative and that makes things more fun. Like, for instance, with Ladybug, her power is creation, and that's pretty general. And no one's ever seen like the full extent of what her powers can do. So it would be fun to go against La Dama and see what she can do without rolling dice by saying things like maybe Ladybug uses her power of creation to capture La Dama in some sort of magical barrier that La Dama can't break down. Um, but then when you add things like dice, it kind of limits you because what we do is anything over so 10 and above is like a pass. You can say yes to whatever you're thinking of. So if I'm going to type out Ladybug makes that barrier, it'll work. Anything below that, like the lower you go, the less it'll work. So if I get a 1, it doesn't work at all. She can't make it because maybe Madama punched her in the face. If I get like a 7, her barrier is not strong enough. If it's like maybe a 3, maybe the barrier isn't fully formed because she can't control her powers due to emotions or something like that. And that's the extent of what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, so that's like a significantly different. Well, I mean, it's not. It sounds kind of similar to Cipher, which you've played Cipher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, am I inferring this correctly? It sounds like it's like Cipher.
I would say so. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it's like basically you have a D20, and when you go to hit someone, there's a difficulty range of how easy it is for the task to complete, and it's on a 1 to 10 scale, with every 3 points equaling out a bar. So like difficulty 1 is a 3 or higher, means you pass. Difficulty 2 is a 6 or higher, you pass. And if you note how I said that, it's there's a what is it? There's 10 levels of difficulty. So on a D20, if you're doing it in increments of 3, it's impossible to get 10 out of 20 by this system, by threes.
Yes.
So what you have to do is you have to spend your points to reduce the difficulty. If it's a 10, you have to spend an X amount of points to bring that difficulty down to, at the bare minimum, a 7. At a 7, I believe that is 20 exact, if I remember correctly. It might be 19. But basically, you got to get, in order for a D20 to reach a 7, a difficulty 7, you have to bring it down by 3 goalposts, we'll say. But yeah, the idea of that system is storytelling. It's meant for you to be able to elaborate and for the players to be engaged in the story writing aspect of it and storytelling. Where when you're doing text-based, which again, Cypher is meant for more verbal, pen and paper, and sitting around the campfire. When you're doing text-based, the dice are good for determining players who have an issue with each other, resolving player conflict mainly, because you get people which you've dealt with them, and I've dealt with them. We've had players who are like, well, no, this character would win because on issue 5, the Hulk absolutely shattered Dr. Doom's helmet, and on issue 444, Bane was able to break King Shark's arm, therefore, and Azrael was able to beat Bane, therefore my character can beat Azrael, or whatever it is that they're trying to cite as their character's power level and qualifications. I had that with the one Deathstroke player that we had, the main Deathstroke player. We called him Slade. I had that with him and Hal, where it was like, Deathstroke should lose against Batman. And I would agree with that most of the time. However, Batman has defeated Deathstroke in the comics plenty of times. So, like, for that to be the end all be all, it's like, okay, now we're in conflict. Now we should break out the dice and have the dice determine, how does this fight go? Is it a win or is it a loss? And then we write out the result. If it's Batman loses, then okay, then we write out how Batman loses. If Batman wins, then we write out how Batman wins. Like that's what dice is good for in terms of writing and text. And as a DM, one of the things you have an inclination to do is you have one of two ways you'll slide. You'd have one or two ways you're going to slide and you're going to get pulled towards. One way is absolute control. You have to micromanage everything. And then the other way you slide is you let go of the leash and you let all chaos ensue and let people run all over the place wherever the hell they want to go.
Yes, that's really not fun if you micromanage.
Oh yeah. To me, it was very engaging, like not necessarily micromanaging, but interacting with the 10 people, as you were saying. I think the most I've done in text was like 12 or 15. I think that's the most I've done. And the more commonly I've done was around 8 people, 8 or 9. And again, it's like, it's a lot of fucking work. It's very straining, but it's also like very, you keep very busy as a DM. You're just constantly click, typing away, because it's like moment you post something to one person, you're still going because you have to post it to someone else. And then once you're done that, you move on to the next person. You got to keep going. Now, if people are interacting, if you have Superman and Batman together, and you have Looker and Katana together, you're able to make one post for Batman, Superman, one post for Katana and Looker, and you're good. Then you get to read all their replies. You get to read each Batman's reply, Superman's reply, Looker's reply, Katana's reply, and you're all able to synchronize and work together and smooth it out together. And then the DM replies to all of you. Like that's to me, that's like the best of all of it, when you're able to have that level of balance and control.
Chemistry has a lot to do with that too.
Oh yeah, it does. having good chemistry helps balance out that. But the other way is you let go. You don't control the leash at all. And I have done it. I've done it where I've loosened the leash, and I'm not as a control freak. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna give the player some breathing room. And what I have found is if a player has that DM mindset, they'll take over, which is, to me, that's the ideal. Like, I want to do enough to set the player up so that they get their own imagination and creativity going, and they don't need me. However, I've seen more often than not what happens is if I let go of the leash, the players devolve into like the typical role play chat room bantering, where they have no interest in doing anything with the story. They have no interest in doing anything at all. And they just want to basically cosplay RP their character, which is, if anyone's familiar with cosplay, basically you get up in your costume, you go to an anime convention, a comic book convention, or whatever convention, and you basically hang out in the lobby acting out as your character with other people who are from the same franchise. So if you're Luke Skywalker or you're Roy Mustang, you're role playing with your Star Wars people or your Full Metal Alchemist people, just telling jokes and inside memes, within the community.
And it's usually like very short posts.
Yeah, it's usually like they're not really of that deep and full of substance. It's just a thing, and it's
Bruce,
what's
you're
that?
talking a lot about cosplay and leashes and dungeon masters. I think you're giving these people the wrong idea.
I think everyone knows exactly about me. I think plenty of people know about me on that. Hey, I do plan. I told this. I'm definitely wanting to bring graphics back on the stream, because I do want to talk to him on the topic of sex in storytelling, like that.
I will not be there for that.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. If I can bring you on for that, that'd be awesome as well. But I'm
You have to pay me for that.
I have to pay you. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm kidding. The first one is free.
Happy endings and everything. But so like what I'm thinking of with the storytelling aspect and guiding people is, and I was talking about I talk about this a lot. The one role player, the one dungeon master who brought us basically to King Arthur. That's how I use the analogy. He brought us to King Arthur, and we meet King Arthur, and King Arthur is busy because he's King Arthur, and he sends us away. And the DM has no idea why he even sent us there. None. He had no idea. He was like, oh, I just wanted to introduce you guys to this new town. Okay. Are there any quests in the town? Well, I figured you guys could ask around, and it's like, well, okay, that's not good enough. Like, you had an opportunity to give us a direct hook. Even if it's one quest, it's a quest. And then as we start exploring the town, we'd get introduced to more quests and more people, and we'd have an idea as to where we're going. And so this is a kind of a common problem that I hear from a lot of players who talk to me. I just got done talking to one of my older players from my 5e campaign, and he's talking to me about creating a whole new system or some form of a whole new system. He likes the D10 system, and he wants me and him to collaborate on a project together to make a game. And he was telling me, his main problem with the systems is he's worried about copyrights and things like that, and which is a really bizarre thing to be worried about. But yeah, that was a part of his concerns
I cannot stand when people just like go on autopilot for some reason when role playing it. I mean, they do it for attention because either they're A, out of ideas, or B, they feel like no one will play with them, which by play, I mean write. But I mean, it kind of pushes people to write with them, but you're only going to get very surface level because you're just not doing anything interesting. Like, don't give me this shit about telling me Dick Grayson is just going to get pizza. I don't do that. I need something to hook me. Um, like tell me Diana's been kidnapped, or come to Wonder Girl saying that I don't know, just just anything that sounds like plot. Really, plot is where I'm at. Not everybody can meet people at plot. I've seen people who like to play house. That is not what I'm about. Like, sure, Jean Grey and um, Scott, I can't remember their names. Uh, what do you call them? Oh God, X-Men. Yes,
Cyclops
yes,
and Marvel.
Cyclops.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
X-Men. Yeah.
So I've seen those two interact in our chat a couple times, and it's basically them playing house. They want to be funny. They want to be cute and smart about it, which is great. Like that's hilarious. I'm glad you set that up, and that's something you enjoy. But I'm not going to play with that. I don't want my OC mutant girl just there for the lulz. I want her to get down and dirty with something. Not okay. I've just dug myself a hole. Um, yeah,
You're
it's
fine.
not
I'm not
fun.
putting words in your mouth.
You're not putting anything in my mouth right now, thanks. Where was I going with this?
I get your point though. It's like you're over here like I want a story, I want to write something, and all I'm getting is basically the Hallmark Channel. But
Yes.
it's like with it's like the Hallmark Channel crossed over with fan fiction, and
Yes.
it's like there's more to this. There's more to these characters than just oh, we're going to bake some cupcakes today, and then we're going to go to the PTA meeting. You know,
Which
it's
I
like,
guess lingers on the cosplay idea.
well, sort of, you know, like, and I've seen people who can write the mundane very well, but you see that it's like, okay, the mundane gets pretty boring because it's mundane. Like that's the point of it. You know, the mundane is supposed to serve as uh like a salad. You know, it's some nice gesture. It's a nice it's a promissory note. Stay here, something good is about to happen. So you can't make that the main course. You can't make that the main meal. So it's like, what's the main meal? Well, the main meal is the story.
There are also those writers that love to do filler. And by filler, I mean, I'm so glad you have a dictionary and can use it and are very literate. But what does this have to do with what's going on? Like, they'll spend 10 fucking paragraphs writing about what the person is wearing or what they look like. And that's beautiful. Thank God you can make art. But come on, I really just want to get our characters to the next location. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, I look at it like I'm here for some form of adventure. You know, it's like I'm reading a comic book. It's like I'm reading a story from like an adventure novel. You know, I want to have an adventure. I want to hear a story. I want to explore a story, explore character. Like, these are things that I want to do whenever I write with someone. And it's a part of why, like, Batman is still a character I absolutely love to write, because my imagination is constantly sparking off with ideas. It's a matter of having the right partner to do those ideas with.
Yeah.
You know, and then we were talking earlier about that, you know, synergy and actually having someone that you write well with and you're compatible with.
It's also pretty fucking easy to lose your concentration on the plot too. There are some people who are really excited to do plot, and it makes sense. I sometimes am not one of those people. I will admit that. But speaking of lost, I am also lost. Like literally. But
If you
also,
want to go check your Google Maps and dip out for a moment, go for
no,
it.
no, no. I'm following Google Maps. It's telling me I'm an hour away still, which I don't believe. I am driving again. I drive myself crazy. But on the subject of being lost, I've gotten like DMs for roleplay on our site, where I've been asked to use my character for something that's out of the ordinary. And I think that's great. That's creative. But then, like my Harley Quinn that I have, which, you know, I understand I'm probably not the best Harley Quinn. That's fine. But this person had the goal to ask me to play a version of Harley Quinn that doesn't exist at all. And I'm not sure if they were on drugs or if they were having a stroke, honestly. What they wanted is Harley Quinn to go through Arkham, and come out the other side after escaping as the Beaver instead of the Batman, as a superhero. Uh, so strap in, folks. There are some loonies out there, and you just gotta drive right past them.
Wait, Harley coming out as a beaver?
Not even like a literal beaver. Like the superhero name for her was going to be the Beaver, but in the way that you would have the Batman.
Okay, yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, it was super weird. I was like, is this going to be a foot fetish thing? I was just expecting the worst. None of that came out, thank God. And oh God, it was weird. Like there was a shower scene.
That out, I would be impressed.
I did. I stuck it out for one whole hour, and I was like, okay, I cannot do this because I myself feel like I'm on drugs right now, the way I'm writing.
Wow, I've done that. I've done writing where it's like, hi, I want to do this story, and I'm like, this is a bad idea. This is a really bad. But you know what? This guy, I like their passion. I love their passion. So I'm gonna go with it. Let's just see where this goes. And it's as terrible as I thought it would be. And I had to just stop them. Usually, like you said, like an hour to 2 hours. Like they're lucky. Like I like to allocate 2 to 3 hours to a gaming session. So if I'm going to write with someone, it's 2 to 3 hours is what I like to allocate.
Yes.
Okay, 2 hours is like the minimum I like to give people. So like 2 hours typically encompasses 10 to 20 turns. That's like a post. Like we do one paragraph, that's like 20 paragraphs or 10 paragraphs, which is a good chunk of a story. And so it's like, if I'm bailing out at the 2 hour mark, I feel like, okay, I haven't cheated them. Now, if I'm bailing out at the 8 hour mark, that means I was really invested and I was really having a blast. Like it was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like the ideal for me is 2 to 3 hours. I'm a busy girl, so sometimes I do shit post, which by that I mean like one line, with a lot of broken sentences. No, I'm kidding. It's actually a lot of page breaks, so it's just separate lines. And that's been what's been happening lately with me because I'm just a busy girl. But if I vibe with this person, I will dedicate the entire day for them. I will like pencil them into my schedule. I don't care. I'll ignore everyone else. um, and then there are some people that I really, really dig their writing. there was this one ghost boy, and I have a Lydia Dietz character, as in Beetlejuice Lydia Dietz, because I love my goth girls. If Bruce has not seen Beetlejuice, you can berate him. Please do.
Yes, I have not seen Beetlejuice.
So there was this ghost boy, and this ghost boy was like super hot. It wasn't even like about romance. She was just live streaming in a haunted house and was supposed to just like I think just we were just like trying to find proof that there was ghosts outside of her house or whatever, like a continuation if Lydia was older. And this ghost boy and I vibed really, really well. I was giving him all I had. Wow, I regret my choice of words, but I was giving him like multi-paragraph posts, like probably 3,000 words, I want to say. And he was doing the same. And then all of a sudden, he actually ghosts me. Like, didn't bother writing back. I kept messaging him like once a day. Hey, are you down to write? I'm still here. And that fucks me with that kind of power. Like when people have that kind of chemistry with me and they have that kind of power over me, I'm like addicted. It sucks that they just drop off the face of the planet. This has happened to me multiple times. Like with I had Looker with a Mark Spector at one point, and their plot was like Looker was going to stop using her dark magic from Satan and switch to worshiping the moon. Well, we were getting to that spell day because I wanted to do it on a specific day because I'm an actual goth girl in real life, apparently. I wanted to do it when the moon was actually full outside. And that day came, we wrote one paragraph each, and then he dropped. And that account is still active to this day, and I just, anyway. Then there was Jean Paul.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. There is a John Paul that I still write with. We're really great friends on Discord. And he and Looker had like super good chemistry. Well, the writers had good chemistry. The characters were bad for each other, and that's why we liked it because we were heathens. And so I would write with this guy on and off, and we would also do like 3,000 words. Well, one day, that day that Mark dropped off, I had Looker as polyamorous at the time, and John Paul dropped out too. So I had Emily move on. And then suddenly he was like, well, I think this is where things stopped for them. And I was like, but why? They're bad for each other. Clearly she's going to try and go back. And he's like, no, I think this is done. And I was like, oh, okay. So I, pining after this person for their writing, I eventually came up with the idea that Jean Paul and Looker would get in touch and just like kind of go over what happened, and she would apologize because I don't know if Bruce has told you guys this, but the Looker I write is a bitch, like mean girl style bitch, which is why I love her because I don't get to be a bitch. And so John Paul is currently with Elektra in that timeline, I suppose, which works out perfectly. I understand that ship. Looker, however, is very vindictive about that, but she needs to move on, so I'm having her write with John Paul about like becoming friends and actually stopping herself from sleeping with everyone and going for a real friendship and learning from her mistakes. However, that does kind of slow down some plot, but it's okay. I have like 12 million characters.
Yeah. And see, you touched on something there that is one of the things I kept coming up with in this topic of power, is thinking about and hearing other players tell their stories of DMs, and I've talked about this before in past streams, of DMs and DMs' girlfriends, how they're very problematic having a girlfriend at the table. And it's similar to what you're saying here, where it's like if someone ghosts you. I've seen and have heard stories. Seen is actually probably not a better accurate descriptor, because I really can't say I've seen. It's more so I've heard stories. People have told me of their personal experience, which is that, like, okay, they're at a table, there's a DM, then there's like 3 or 4 other friends, and then the DM's girlfriend. And the DM's girlfriend always leverages her relationship with her boyfriend, the DM, to have things work towards whatever she wants. And,
Ew.
you know, from a player's standpoint, I'm like, you know, work whatever magic you can to win. But as a player's perspective, it's like the DM should be guarded from that. You know, the DM should be allowed to just say, no, I'm not giving you this special exemption. You know, I'm not going to do this thing you want me to do unless you can argue and articulate it in a reasonable manner that I'll agree with you. You know,
Are you going to lead into the story of Star Wars when we first started? Because I wasn't prepared for this.
I'm trying to think.
I mean,
I'm trying to think of what you're talking about, because
what? When we first started, well, when I first started the campaign, Quincy and I had just broken up. Can I use his name? Or should I call him something else?
I don't care. I don't. Yeah, it's fine.
I don't care about him either. It's fine.
Yeah, no, no. It's like, okay, Quincy is such a generic name, so I'm okay with that. You know.
Okay. Well, this person, we were not compatible, and we decided to play Bruce's game, and we got into an argument. I'm still gonna say it, I didn't start it, but
Yeah,
it kind of spilled into the game.
He had directly asked me to not allow you to play. And
yes.
I had to tell him straight up, no. And he tried pulling that, but we're brothers, like we're best friends. And it's like, right, but she's also my friend. And so I can't play favorites between my friends because you're both my friend.
Right.
So you two having your own relationship and your own issues with each other, that's none of my business.
Let's not use that word ever again.
Yeah, I was like, you guys can't involve me in your issue with each other. And that's when I effectively found out that you didn't give a shit. You were like, I have no problem. You know, like that's a him issue. And that's when he's like, okay, the DM is throwing it back on me. So if the DM is throwing it back on me, then I can just do whatever the fuck I want to her in game. And it's like, well, sure. And it's a shame that you aren't playing an evil character because you're playing a good character. And now your good character is turning evil because of your real life personality taking over. And I'm actually glad you brought this up because it's I completely forgot about this story in terms of relation to it, because one of the issues I find it made me talk about this topic is the fact, how do you handle players with too much power? And in that game, his character was the most powerful character in the entire sphere of players. Now he could get some run for his money with the likes of Gorzak or the likes of Kem, and you for that matter, but you guys would all have to double team him or triple team him. Like, you guys would have to all in sync attack him and throw him off his game.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked to join by one of our other mutual friends, and I literally knew nothing about D&D back then. I just thought it'd be a good idea for me to socialize, and I did. Um, Also, the fact that I kept rolling nat 20s on that character was really fun back then. Now, not so much. I don't know what happened. Bruce probably cursed the dice.
Probably. They're starting to
But the
call me
fact
a Fed. That's what they're calling me.
the fact that it spilled into the game, I was not so keen on. Because I was just there to learn and play. And it's like whatever he wants to do to me and my character, whatever. I don't care. I mean, it's just a game, and
Yeah.
essentially, there was a time where he tried to kill off my character too, and
Oh, he tried
I think
killing off your
that's what.
character. He tried killing off your character a few times. It's just
Yeah.
his other times were really like lighthearted and like gentle. I think he was just testing the waters and poking
Hmm.
and prodding to see how you would react, and probably even to see how I would react. Like, would I just summon a crate dragon to squash him and attack him? Like he was waiting for something like that, and it's like I didn't have anything in my pocket for that. Like I putting you guys against challenge after challenge, and if the players want to choose that now is the time they want to backstab each other, them's the works.
Yeah. Um,
And the irony would have been, it's like, okay, I have the boss fights gauged for X amount of players, and if you make it through the trials and things, the trial, it was the Jedi Temple. If you make it through the Jedi Temple trials, you'll have enough XP and power to be ready for the fight. But if I have to add a new character at the end of the puzzles, missing them, effectively you're starting out as a level 1 character because you died, then you're just screwing over the rest of the party.
yeah.
And that's the short-sightedness of other players. And this is where, being a DM, you're again teetering on that balance of taking too much control versus doing not enough, letting the leash go.
Hmm. Yeah, there's something to be said about trolling, which the obvious is it's not fun and it's kind of annoying. The other is they do it for a specific reason. Either they don't like you or they're jealous of you, whatever that reason is. I usually just end up banning them because I'm not going to tolerate that. I, I've worked too hard. No, it is super annoying. And like, there are some characters that come into our room that's like Omni-Man, for instance. They're super OP. And I hate that I use that word. Quincy used to use that word. He taught me that word. Anyway, that's gross. Um, Omni-Man is very overpowered, and I'll admit that. But in relation to something like Superman, I say that they're on different levels. Superman has that thing where sometimes he randomly develops powers too, right? But also the ice breath and the uh, heat vision and everything, and X-ray vision.
Yeah, Superman's
But
power is off the charts. I don't know anything about Omni-Man, and I would still wager Superman would win.
yeah, Omni-Man just is. I think his upper hand is that he has a thirst for blood and doesn't care about anyone except himself, which is what holds Superman back. That's kind of an interesting dynamic. But um, we've had instances
He's
where,
supposed to be an anti. He's another an anti-Superman. He's like
yeah,
the guy from the Boys. It's like, oh, we're going to make Superman, but if he were realistic, which basically
yes, like
translates to,
Homelander.
yeah, Homelander, that's his name. Yeah, it's like basically they correlate to be a realistic Superman. You would be a guy who's drunk on power, and you wouldn't just be like a good person. Like Keanu Reeves doesn't exist.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we've had like an Omni-Man come through. And,
But I was gonna say, but that's part of my problem with a lot of this mainstream thoughts, and I have a problem with people who have this idea that power, like humans, are just innately evil. Because I don't necessarily think they're all innately evil, and I don't necessarily think all of us are innately good. But it's like to assume that if a random person had Superman's powers, they would be evil. You know, it's like, oh, this would be the realistic approach. And it's like, no, I don't think it's realistic. You know, that person could be an asshole, sure, but I don't think it'd be realistic that, like, hey, I have this power, therefore I have to be evil with it.
yeah, I don't think the intention is usually evil. I think the result might be evil. And even then, it might be willful ignorance.
Well, like, you know, in that case, this guy's walking into your room as Omni-Man, a very clearly powerful character. You know, his goal is to run in there and flex his dick. You know, oh, look how powerful I am.
Yeah, so there's like stirring the pot, and then there's just like being a super dick, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
He was after Felicity, not in like in a rapey way, but like he was after her to get back at Tony Stark, because in that room, Tony Stark and Felicity smoke. And so he did just want to kind of flex on Tony, I think, because Tony Stark in general has this belief that he is incredibly smart and, you know, Tony Stark
thinks
arrogant.
he's God's gift to the planet and human race.
Yes, precisely. And so that dynamic is okay. I'm fine with that because it stirs plot. But we've had like a Deathstroke that just, or no, maybe it was a Deadpool that just basically came in and kind of tore up reality for a lot of characters, and that was not fun. We just had to ignore them because that's a dick move. Like, we already had plot going. Please don't interject without asking, at the very least, as if you're gonna like turn and shift everything in a different direction. Like, that's messed up. But that's just being polite, just to say, hey guys, can I join? That would be nice. But that didn't happen. So everybody ignored him, and that's why he never got to play and didn't come back back into the room. So don't do that. Don't be a dick. That's like number one rule in any room. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Well,
anywhere, that should be the number one rule.
Yes. But I was going to say on that note, though, that's a problem I see with a lot of rooms, is they also add this dickish thing. So when you don't see a room with that rule, you're like, oh my God, I can breathe. But it's like you see rooms with chat rooms where they have this rule: don't break the furniture, no fighting, none of this stuff. And it's just like, the more you create these rules, the more tension you're building up. You know, the more strain and this is part of why I don't go to a lot of chat rooms anymore. It's like they're so constricting, and people don't allow you the freedom to breathe, explore, do fun things. Like, you know, you're in a virtual world and you're in the imagination. So to say, oh, you're not allowed to damage the bar, you know, you're not allowed to break anything in the bar, or you're not allowed to break anything in the watchtower, is really stupid to me. You know, it's just absolutely stupid to me.
I agree. Like, there are those rooms where they kind of, like you said, micromanage. And by that specifically, I'm talking about those rooms where they're like, this person runs the bar in town. This person owns this house. Please ask them for permission to do story in here. And I'm just like, but it's it's made up. You can just, it doesn't really matter. I I was a part of a room, I think I referred to it already, where the room owners, there were two owners, they thought because the room got so big that every character in there needed to be micromanaged, and I hated that. And by that I mean we had the Avengers mansion, basically. And, a mansion, I'm sure, hosts like max 16 bedrooms, but, it's roleplay. So who cares? This
Yep.
this particular set of co-owners decided one day, like, oh, no more Harley Quinn sleeping in the cabinets. Nobody else can room in the Avengers mansion. Uh, People need access to it. They have to scan in. If you're not living there, you can't role play there. You have to role play somewhere else, which takes away a lot of the fun. Also, doesn't make you feel that great, and also makes the owners look like dicks because it's just a fucking mansion. Who cares
It,
how many actual rooms it
it's
has?
complete fiction. Like it's
Mhm.
in a writing world, and every time someone creates a rule, you're asking what happened that this rule had to be made. Like you're asking that question. You're scratching your head. What happened that this specific thing is now a rule? And that's like that's a part of why I run my room the way I do. That's why I run my Dungeons and Dragons games the way I do, and that's a part of what makes me more and more chaotic in my philosophies and belief by the day. Is I've learned that it's if you want to survive in a storm on the ocean, going against the wind is a surefire way to drown. Where if you follow the wind, you let it guide you, you let it steer you, you are more likely to survive. And that's something that I see with a lot of rooms is they clamp down with these stupid rules. They clamp down with all these ideas and goals. And it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like you're forcing people to play a certain way, and you might not look at it like, oh, this isn't a big deal. No one will have a problem with this. It's just a little minor thing. Like, come on, it's common sense. It's like, no, you're literally stifling creativity. You, by
Hmm.
doing that, you're drawing everyone's attention to this specific thing.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be doing that. It should be an open world, free to go wherever you want, free to do whatever you want. Like, that's how it should be.
And there have also been instances where I, as a female role player, have had people who have cared too much about my character, not like romantically or anything, but like there was this one instance where I have a character named Elizabeth, and she's like a witch and a human voodoo doll. And oh, maybe it wasn't her. Oh, I just outed myself. Anyway, a different character, Ariel. Ariel's half succubus, half demon. She doesn't know she's half succubus. So Ariel's like doesn't say much because she was never taught to talk. And one day she met this person. I can't remember who it was. I think it was like a pawn dealer or something, and he got all creepy with her. And I was fine with that. Like she's a bottom bitch. She's a brat. I get that. And one day I wasn't online, and I guess he wrote something without me. And everybody was so mad because he was like, I put her in chains and I let her out this morning for her walk. And people were just like DMing me the entire time. Like, are you okay? Did this person do something that you didn't want them to? They talked about you and your character behind. I was like, first of all, I have the room history. I can see that's not the case. Second of all, it's fictional, guys. This person doesn't exist. I could just delete the account if I felt unsafe. Third of
Yeah.
all, this person and I that are playing are actually really good friends. So I'm not at all creeped out, but it was just like way too much protection. Like
Yeah.
people take their ships very seriously sometimes, and it disturbs the story.
Well, that's where you get into moral busybodies and role playing, regardless of the platform. Role players have this huge attraction to the high school mentality, and people who are busybodies are perpetually stuck in the high school mentality. And that's another form of player control and power you got to deal with, because they feel that when they're being a busybody and a gossip, that they're somehow controlling something, or they have some level of power over something. And as a player, you have to basically shove that stuff aside. Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to say, all right, I'm not going to entertain this. I'm not going to play this game. I'm going to just play my character. I'm going to be faithful to my character and what my character does. And if you're a DM, you have to take the approach of, okay, I'm not going to buy what these players are telling me. I'm not going to have that impact my story. I'm going to let the players' actions guide me. So if the player is just going to sit there all day dancing and talking shit, then they're going to get the consequences of standing there all day talking shit.
Yeah, I I have a distinct memory of me coming into your DC room with Vampirella, kind of like that. And I apologize, but I was also a brat back then too.
Well, no, I don't see, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't think of you like that. Yeah, I don't think of you like that at all.
The character, it was definitely cosplay RP at the time.
Yeah,
I wasn't used to the room, so
yeah, so like that, I don't inherently have a problem with. But also, it's like there has to be a degree of power or control that the player has, right? Like if you're a completely new person, you don't have that power or control. At least to me, you don't. You're just a new person. Okay.
right.
Now, if you're coming out off the heels of, you just got done dealing with other people and you got to see the other people and how they behave, and you're like, oh, I guess this is how all role play rooms behave. This is how everyone is supposed to act. Good luck, Godspeed. But if you have any wit of intelligence, you're like, okay, this is these people don't operate like everyone else. You realize that this is different, and then you begin adjusting yourself to fit the mold of these people.
I did that. Some people do not do that. I have had like those random accounts that just come in and are like, does anybody want to RP with me? And we have like our text changes color depending on what you select. And these people do not bother to change their color. They do not bother to change like their italics or bold or strikes or anything. Or they have a blank profile, which is usually a red flag. I hate to say it. But unless you know the person, it's usually a red flag. And
yep, that's why I've had people question me on it. They've said, why are you judging me based on not having a profile? And it's like, well, no, it's not that I'm judging you based on a profile. It's that I like to write with someone who's consistent. And if you don't have a consistent character on your profile, how do I know when you're not making something up? And this is going back to recalling earlier what I said, how it's like I'll role play with someone. I know it's not going to work out well. I'll know it. And we'll get into it. And then it's like an hour in. I'm like, yeah, this is going exactly as I thought. It's terrible.
garbage.
And that's typically with people who say, trust me, I'm a good role player. And they have no profile.
I think that's also a red flag. If you say, trust me, I'm a good role player, I would just be like, I don't think we're doing the same kind of role play.
I've had maybe one person who did that and actually like it was like, okay, this is good enough, but it wasn't sustaining. It wasn't going to have me coming back for more. They weren't that good. It was just like, okay, this is good enough.
I would trust someone who says, I have a good imagination over I am good at writing or I am a good role player.
Yeah, like I said, I have just enough experience to say that, I know I don't have I know I haven't met everyone. I'm wise enough to know I haven't met every single person on the planet Earth. So I know there's exceptions. I know there's outliers. And knowing that, it's like, okay, I need to be aware that I can't just assume someone without a profile is garbage. In fact, this one lady who, it's a shame that her and I haven't gotten a chance to role play. She got me into watching the TV show Deadwood. She's like, you gotta watch that show. You'll love it. And not that I love it, it's an okay show. It's a good show, but I wouldn't say I love it. So she has no profile. Okay, she's got like generic name, completely a generic name, and she was like the last person I had this argument with, where it's like, you don't have a profile. How am I to role play with you? Like, if you don't have a profile, how do I know when you're going to change your character? And that's my major concern. That's a part of what made me get upset with not having a profile, is I would catch people. I would intentionally set them up in a trap where it's like, okay, Batman doesn't know your character and your character's a vampire. And it's like, all right, what are your power sets? They'll say, oh, they drink blood, they have fly, or they have not fly, they have super strength, regeneration, hypnosis, and retractable claws, we'll say, and a bat form. And it's like, okay, cool. And then in the middle of it, they're going to start firing Kamea waves and Kamea blasts out of their hands, energy discharges, fireballs. And it's like, wait a minute, where the hell did this come from? Oh, my character has magic too.
Oh, yeah.
What?
That's not
like that would have been a big thing to let me know about, like not to just sideball me or sideswipe me with that.
right.
And so that's a part of like why I'm like, okay, no, I need to know your character's stats. Like, I need to know what this character is capable of. That way I'm not completely sideswiped as to what it is that this character is capable of doing. And we're actually doing a story that's meaningful or fun. I'm not sure. Have I ever told you about the Storm role player, the power gaming Storm role player?
I don't think so, but I just arrived at my destination.
Very nice. So, are you going to depart from here?
Um, I think I'm going to have to because I've been driving for 3 hours and I've been up since 5. But
All
I
right.
would like to do this more often, so please invite me back. Um, I don't know who's in that chat because I'm on mobile, but it was nice meeting all of you and thank you for having me.
All right. Unfortunately, there is no one in chat for me to conspire with or to take any questions or take any statements from. So we had a few people watching. I think the most we had was 5 or 8. I don't remember which. So we had a few people hop in and take a view. But
Good.
hey, that's perfectly fine. I will look forward to having you on in the future. This was great.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, this was fun. Yeah, thanks for keeping me company, and I will see you around. Just message me. Bye.
Bye. All right, chat. So I got you all to myself now. And I'm going to be able to dive a little bit deeper into some of these things that I wanted to talk about. Her and I were having a blast. I wanted her to talk as much as possible because I didn't know if she would have to bail like that. So I'm glad she got a chance to talk and get you guys some time with her, experience her, and get to hear how amazing she is. So, as I said before, bad dungeon masters is a topic that I wanted to talk about and cover because I tend to note that a lot of players are complaining to me about bad dungeon masters. And whether it's that they're weak, they're biased, they have all kinds of their issues with how they want to side with people, how they want to deal with conflict. I've said this before at least 2 times in past streams. So if you're new here, this is going to get you up to speed. One of the games that I was in, me and my former co-host, Chaos Ryzen, Benefactor, we joined this one game where they had requested a tank and a healer. Those were the 2 roles they were looking for. And so I got him in on the game. And in the game, he and I were tank and healer combo. He was a druid. I was a cleric. And we get in, and the DM had no idea how to use our characters. Because it's like the tank couldn't taunt anything. His characters just ignored the taunt, any conventional taunt. They ignored his character completely when he put himself as a body block. And for me, it was like there was no indication, no hints, nothing allowing me to actually heal or do anything other than spend spell slots to heal and then eventually have no spell slots at all and be like, okay, why am I here? So, like, that's bad DMing. Absolutely terrible DMing. And having the players that he had in that party, he had like 2 monks, a rogue, and then a wizard. And it was a combination of characters that was like, all right, these guys should work well together. Our whole comp should have worked very well together. However, the DM didn't know how to use us, didn't know how to handle this combo. And it wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't anything broken or overpowered. It was just like, okay, here's a bunch of players. You have your 3 DPS or 4 DPS, and you have a tank and a healer. And he's chose not to do anything with them. So I take note of stuff like that, weak DMs, and it's like, okay, how do you combat these problems? And I'm going to talk about another story that I had the other day where I'm known amongst my friends. I have all kinds of fun stories I can tell. And I had these players talk to me, or this writing friend of mine. He's been on stream, Dan. Dan was asking me, hey, can you help my one friend with his script? He's trying to write a movie script and he's going to send it off. And it's like, okay, I can help him. And I get in there and I find this guy is not interested at all in hearing anything I have to say. He has no interest at all because I'm not a fan of the fandom that he wants to talk about and read and all that stuff. Because again, I'm coming in as basically a writing consultant, so I'm here explaining him the basics. Like, okay, brainstorming is your friend. You got to brainstorm. Brainstorm is what's going to help you. And I could tell from his tone, I could tell from the way he was when he was talking, it was like this guy has no interest in brainstorming, no interest in doing anything. His interests are in just sitting around talking to people about this fandom that he likes talking about. He doesn't have any interest in actually writing. But I did it anyway. I walked through the brainstorming process. I walked through talking to them, mainly because my friend Dan, who brought me into this conversation, I know he's a aspiring director and movie maker. So I'm like, this guy could use this advice. He could use knowing how to brainstorm. He could use knowing how to select key elements to make his plot, where to start in his project. Like, that's useful information to someone like him. So then I have another conundrum here with my weekly Star Wars game. I have an assortment of players with their own little individual idiosyncrasies and problems and behavioral things. And so how I navigate them, how I deal with them is something that I'm constantly on the daily having to struggle and deal with. So, sorry, I have kids around, so I'm like trying to maintain concentration and not having the microphone pick them up, because the microphone is going to easily pick them up. Where are my settings on this thing? You know what? I think now would be a good time to end the stream, actually, because I am going to have kids screaming all around me. So I'm going to say thank you guys for paying attention and hanging out while you were here. And I'll elaborate furthermore on this topic in the future. I always do. So thank you for watching and have a good night.